in partnership with WYTV7 Christian Broadcasters Network. This is When Men Open Up, a show where we are redefining manhood through transparency. My name is Dominique.
I'm Dexter Dominique.
And welcome to our very first episode of our new season. And today we want to, for all the new listeners and new viewers, we want to welcome you. This is When Men Open Up. And those of you that are unfamiliar with this podcast, this might be your first video, and you're probably saying, you know what, let me just start with the last season. You know, we are a platform for men, and we typically discuss a lot of emotional, mental, spiritual issues that men often struggle with in silence. And we always bring forth sensitive topics that we normally avoid, we don't want to talk about, and we're bringing it to the forefront. You get what I'm saying? And that's pretty much what this whole podcast is about.
Definitely, and I think last season I think we really pressed the envelope on a lot of sensitive subject matters, and I can already tell you that this season 3, it seems like we are definitely pushing the envelope that much more further. So I'm excited about this season. I just want to say thank you all who have been, following us along this journey. For those who've been with us from the very beginning, and to even those who'll be just, catching us now for the very first time, we appreciate your support.
Most definitely. So I really want to get right into it, man. The topic for today is my work is my therapy. My work is my therapy. And, we was talking, we were discussing what is a good way, a good topic to start off this season. And I really do believe this topic right here is a good way to really set the tone for what the podcast is really about and so forth, things that we want to dismiss as well. And we really want to talk about the relationship we have with our jobs, our careers, and not just that, but also our views towards therapy.
Yeah.
Therapy and counseling, you get what I'm saying? So a brother that we seen on Facebook, he made this post, and I'm going to bring up the post as well. And I'm going to also, for those of you that listen to the podcast, I'm going to also read the post as well. And I really want you all's feedback on, what your views are, what your perspectives are, and so forth. And we're going to dive right into it as well. So I'm going to bring up the post real quick, and I want you all to go ahead and read it. Now, the post says, men heal through their work in developing a sense of deserved accomplishment, not through hyper-focusing on what hurt their feelings in their childhood until tears and a stank face forms in these so-called theoretical safe spaces. If you want to heal men, connect them to their work. No matter how poor and damaged a man is, he will always choose his work over pity any day. The process and responsibility of a man's work and ability to produce and assemble his salvation with his own hands is how masculine healing works. Men heal through problem solving, conquering, and establishing ish. Coddling creates soy boys. Soy boys are not men. So that's the post, and we may bring it up again. So everyone who's just joining in can see it and so forth. But we really want you all's feedback on what this brother was trying to relate. Now, I'll say this. I think the brother means well.
I do too.
I think the brother means well. But there's a lot of things that we need to address when it comes down to this post. So what's some things that comes to your mind when he's with this post right here?
Well, first thing first, so I'll say this. I actually went on to read his comments further on in that discussion, and the way he engaged with some other people. And I think I got more clarity from his actual engagement with other people. And I know when we talked about this, I said, man, it's in many ways, I actually in reading his further comments, I think I better understood where he was coming from. And I said, I can agree with what he's saying in part. I do feel that it was not a full picture of the healing process. Ultimately, when I think of the term work, I think from his context, what he was saying is purpose, not just a job. And you and I have had this conversation before, and one of my favorite teachers of all time was the late Miles Monroe. And I remember Miles Monroe had a particular message, and he was talking about, the fact that the first thing God gave to man was work. And he was using that in the context of relationships. He was saying, hey, look, before woman came on the scene, man had work. And so I understand that from that connotation. I believe and I agree with this man as well. However, what I will say is that no amount of work will allow you to cover up the issues that you may be struggling with. I think from a place of healing, after you receive the healing, I think you'll be more effective in your work. And so you can't outrun the issues by trying to do stuff. And so, as we progress in this conversation, I'll try to offer my perspective on what work is, especially from a biblical standpoint. But, no amount of work is going to allow you to suppress, the stuff you might be dealing with. The stuff you might be dealing with it may be the reason why, you can't do your job to the best of your ability anyway. Right. And so, it was just an interesting take, from his vantage point. And like I said, I definitely want us to do a good job of, promoting mental health, because, to say that a work is going to heal me mentally, I think that's an incomplete answer.
Yeah, and I would say this. There's a lot of dynamics to this whole post. I'm gonna have to disagree with the post. Because I really think with his rhetoric and some other rhetoric as well that I've read, some other commentary that he's put on. I think first analyzing the first sentence, men healed through their work. I think what we're doing is what he's really highlighting is some things. I think in the whole post he's highlighting the very things that we're trying to address with our platform and even dismiss as well. And it doesn't seem like he has a positive view on mental health. No. And to be quite honest, the conversation that we have, I don't believe I can have it with the average brother that I come in contact with. You get what I'm saying? I think so. Now my question is his views about therapy, his views about counseling. Where does those views really stem from?
Yeah.
And many of us, we view counseling and therapy as soft. We view it as something that's feminine. That's something that's only for women. That's women only process issues by just talking through it. Men, we just got to be working and get what I'm saying. And my thing is this: purpose is important. I think everyone has purpose, and I think everyone needs to be operating in their lane. Yeah. One of the things I had to realize, in my journey with pursuing my purpose is understanding that I had this tunnel vision with pursuing purpose that I wasn't equipping myself to really maintain that lane and to make sure that I was going to be equipped to be effective within my purpose as well. So I can be good in my lane because I'm because of my natural abilities. But is that enough? You get what I'm saying? Because I get it. He want brothers to be providers. He want brothers to be strong and so forth. But how? And you hit on it. If I am using my work to surface my pain, to surface what needs to be addressed. What I'm doing is I'm developing a toxic relationship in bond with my work.
Exactly.
And now, just like with the topic that we hit on last week, and I want our listeners to view that on our YouTube page. You know, when it come down to balance, you know, we was talking about being balanced when it come down to being a financial provider. Sometimes we can get so caught up with being a financial provider that now we have this unbalanced way. Because I done seen it with my dad.
Yeah.
I done seen it with my father. There's a lot of things with abandonment and so forth. I'm affected by his abandonment. You get what I'm saying? And that was never addressed. So I really don't want men to develop this toxic bond and relationship with their work and saying, you know what, I'm doing what I love. This is what I need to be doing as a man. And hey, it's gonna override what I've been feeling all along.
I mean, man, that makes total sense. And like I said, I believe we're making the same point. You know, as I stated with this particular comment, it took me diving more into the chain of other responses that he had for me to say, okay, I see the vantage point that he's coming from. You know, one of the things I know that, and you and I've discussed this on a number of occasions, we as men, we find our value and our self-worth connected to our ability to provide. And so the issue is that sometimes we confuse job and purpose. We confuse career and purpose. They're not synonymous. But, and you're doing good if your job and your purpose are actually the same thing. I think you've kind of struck you hit the nail on the head with that one. But, you know, if you're just a provider or, you're working, what it does is it addresses a lot of the surface level stuff. And what it does is it strokes your ego for you to say, well, at least I'm providing, I'm doing this, I'm able to take care of the business. But it does not address that deep-seated stuff. And so, like I said, I do believe that work can be a part of the process of healing. I just don't believe that the work is the healing, and so to say that, hey, I don't need a mental health provider, what I need to do is just discover my purpose, I think that's a dangerous conversation. Your purpose actually might be connected to the healing that you received. You can say, hey, look, as a young man, I went through these issues and I discovered how to win in those areas. I got the help that I needed, and now I want to go back and in turn help those who remind me of me when I was at that point. But you're not going to make that realization until you first get the help. And I think it is a huge disservice to equate mental health and seeking help in that area as a sexual trait. It's not attributed to being a man or a woman. It's just mental well-being and mental health. We all have a mind. We all have issues that we deal with, and so the question is, how do you deal with it? The danger is a lot of the issues we deal with, we didn't come into contact with that as adults. We came into contact with that as children and as teenagers and stuff, and so I've been exposed to an issue in my adolescence, and now as a man, you're saying, hey, just work it out. Nah, you got to go back to the roots. Let me get the root situated, and then I'll be, once again, more effective in what it is I'm trying to get done.
Most definitely, and I want to bring it back up for those people that's just tuning in. What we're discussing is the post, men heal through their work and developing a sense of deserved accomplishment, not through hyper-focusing on what hurt their feelings in their childhood until tears and a stank face forms in these so-called theoretical safe spaces. He really went there.
With theatrical, yeah.
Theoretical. If you want to heal men, connect them to their work. No matter how poor and damaged a man is, he will always choose his work over pity any day. The process and responsibility of a man's work and ability to produce and assemble his salvation with his own hands is how masculine healing works. Men heal through problem solving, conquering, establishing ish. Coddling creates soy boys. Soy boys are not men. This brother, I mean, he's a funny guy, man. And like I said, I think he means well. And you know, one of the things another thing that I wanted to hit on is the process and responsibility of a man's work and ability to produce and assemble his salvation with his own hands. Now, man, when you bring things to the table, when you make things happen, and then when your partner, your significant other is patting you on the back, brother, that feels good.
Brother.
You know, we're not dismissing that at all. We're not dismissing that the importance of finding that work that is for you. You know, really doing something that, you know, you genuinely feel like I was born to do. All we're saying is that's just not enough. And if we want to focus on being productive and being our best selves and improving in every area of our lives, we got to understand some of that trauma that we probably have experienced, because that unaddressed trauma, it'll cause that burnout because of that toxic relationship with our job. It'll cause that quick frustration. It'll cause that anger, that bitterness, and so forth and so forth. So we have to have this balanced way of really thinking as men, because if we don't, then what's going to happen is, because you do it with the, what is it called, the genogram? That's what it's called, right?
The genogram.
Yeah, the genogram. A lot of the things that we are suffering with, the things that we are dealing with, are things that has been passed on from our parents and maybe even from my grandparents. You get what I'm saying? And we talk to individuals all the time, and we realize, you know what? This is not something that just started with you. This is something that started with your parents as well. Matter of fact, this didn't start with your parents as well, you know. So now we just gotta really ask ourselves, like, look, I get it. As men, we wanna be providers. We wanna be able to bring things to the table. We want to build wealth and so forth. But man, you gotta maintain that wealth. You get what I'm saying? We a lot of people who have financial issues, it isn't just that they just don't know any better. It's other things tied to that. You get what I'm saying?
I do.
So for us to really be proactive with breaking these generational curses, really be proactive with creating and leading that next generation. You get what I'm saying? It's gotta start and end with that mental care. It just can't start and end, you know, and solely be, okay, this is what I brought to the table and I didn't get my job as a man.
You know, along the subject that we're talking about, you know, last week I watched the Dave Chappelle, you know, and you know, the new comedy, the Sticks and Stones, and you know, at the onset of that special, you know, he talks about Anthony Bourdain, you know, and I used to watch that show all the time. Actually, a friend of mine, her husband was one of the people he interviewed on the show, and so he was wealthy, you know, he was working, and so this is the counterpoint to this particular person's post, when they say that we found our salvation in our work, and, you know, dismiss the mental health aspect. This man, much to what Dave Chappelle was talking about, was hugely successful, you know, had a great show, had a great job, and he committed suicide. And so the money, the success, did not allow him once again to outrun the issues. And it's very dangerous to assume that the fact that I've struck a chord and I find constant success, that is going to alleviate me from all of the pressures and the other stressors and all the hurts that I'm dealing with. You know, the true measure of success is, once you find something that works, repeat it. And if you keep repeating it, you should be able to sustain success. That in and of itself will not help you when you're dealing with mental issues. And I can say that because, You know, when you look at the number of successful people who commit suicide all of the time, then obviously there's some kind of disconnect with, you know, once again, that particular person's statement. And so once again, look, like you said, there's something to be said about the man who was able to go out there, hunt, kill the animal, bring it home, wife pat you on the back. Listen, that feels great. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is that if on the inside I'm all jacked up, that pat on the back, the euphoria from that is going to end within a few minutes. And then after that, I'm still going to have to deal with those thoughts that were bothering me and haunting me before that. And so, you know, we as men, we have to get to the point where we're able to have these conversations. And I don't know what the safe space looks like for most people. The safe space may not look like sitting at a table talking about it. It might be out on the dock fishing with one of your buddies. You know, it might be, wherever, you know what I'm saying? But the reality is that the conversations still need to be had.
Yeah, and I will also bring this up, you know, in terms of, let's talk about burnout, for example. You know, when we don't take that break, you know, your body will do it for you. You get what I'm saying?
Facts. Yeah.
And I kind of think of it the same way when it comes down to dealing with some other mental issues and other pain and trauma as well. If you don't address those things, you know, eventually you're gonna have those moments. We have a lot of, I mean, you see with celebrities all the time, and they always have that moment where we ask, where did they go? What happened to them? You know, they've just been quiet for a minute. And almost every time they say, you know what, I just had a breakdown, or I just had a meltdown, or I had a moment where, you know, I just wasn't taking care of myself. I just wasn't addressing these things, and the signs was there, but I just didn't address it, or I didn't have anybody around me, and whatever the case may be. And that's the thing. If we don't really take out that time in some form of fashion, because look, everyone's not going to go to therapy. Everyone's not going to go to counseling. You get what I'm saying? We're going to always be an advocate for that. We do see with statistics that, you know, a lot of men are not going. A lot of men have negative views, and there is a stigma when it comes down to seeking help. But we have to understand the importance of addressing these issues, because there's gonna be a moment where you have no choice but to pause. Yeah, you get what I'm saying? There's gonna be a moment where you have no choice but to really just shut it down and just put it down. And I'm an advocate for hitting that pause button. I think, you know, sometimes we can get so caught up in the work. You know, we just had a past week where we both said, look, you know, it was hectic. You know, I mean, having events back to back and doing these courses and everything else, that added up, along with being a father, along with being a husband, along with, you know, being a friend and so forth, you know, and other responsibilities that you have. And we have to take out that time. So we really want, you know, we're going to always be an advocate for men to, you know, take out that time for you, you know, even if it's just self-care, you know, just take out that time for you, because it's very, very important. We want to reiterate our past message with having that balance, you know. It just isn't about, when it comes down to being a provider, let's not have a narrow perception of that, you know. It's finances, it's emotions, it's mentally, it's physically. You get what I'm saying? You know, it's being there emotionally, it's being there physically, it's knowing how to serve your wife and your kids and so forth. So let's really do the work to be more balanced as providers and so forth.
And I think, and this will be the last thing I think I have concerning this. You know, one of the things I've learned a long time ago, and it did not come easy. It was a very frustrating revelation. But people have no problem utilizing your gifts and your talents. They will watch you burn yourself out, because they're benefiting from your gifts and your talents.
Right.
And so, once again, you have to recognize the signs of your own burnout. to make sure that you're going to be able to sustain your own life, And once again, you might have a family that depends on you, wife, kids, but the people on the outside, look, they will always be demanding more and more of your time and your energy. And if you don't have the right mental perspective concerning these things, you'll think that they are actually attracted to you, but their attraction is to what can you provide and offer to them, And so once again, to say that, hey, I found my value solely connected to my work, apart from making sure that I'm mentally fit, is inaccurate, and I've been saying it throughout the duration of this particular talk today. Once again, the work is a part of the process, but it is not the sole component of that process. These two things go hand in hand. Make sure you are mentally healthy, because the mental health is going to help you be more efficient in whatever your work is.
Yeah, and some people may ask, well, how do I know that? So I think we have to really just be honest with ourselves and really take a close look and self-reflecting. How have I been feeling lately? What have my my daily thoughts been? I think it's really good to keep a journal sometime. I know it may sound corny for some people, but it really keeps a personal assessment of how you've been feeling and thinking. What are other people saying around you? Do you believe that's true? Sometimes people do give us clues about how, what's really going on with us. Do you believe you're being productive? Are you easily distracted? Are you constantly frustrated? The list goes on and on and on. Do you not feel like you are living your best life? Do you not feel complete? The list goes on, and you can start with that. You get what I'm saying? Start with that, and then move forward with, seeking the help and so forth. And we're gonna also develop or have some resources that everybody can go to and so forth, because some people just don't know where to go. Some people just don't know, okay, I want to go to this, or I want to seek help, or whatever the case may be, but where do I go? Where do I start? So we're gonna make that available as well. And we have some courses that you all can go to whenmenopenup.com. There is a great course for self-care, the ones who are constantly feeling burnt out and so forth, and you probably need a game plan on how to, or what to implement in your life, so you won't be burnt out all the time, because it gets old quick. We say I'm tired of being sick and tired. So, and if that's the case, now there's some things that we have to implement in our lives and make some adjustments in the lives. But the question may be, what adjustments do I need to make? How do I go about doing that? And there's a free course that's available for you. So that's another resource for you with menopenup.com. And if you have any other questions for us, any other feedback for us, you can easily inbox us on Facebook, email us info@whenmenopenup.com. And we have some great episodes coming up, a series coming up. It's called I'm a Man and I Was Molested. I'm a Man and I Was Molested. And we took a lot of time out, interviewed some guys. We still got some more guys to interview to be on the show. The stories are very heavy. It's going to be very surprising, and it's going to be some triggers. So it's going to be some talks about molestation. It's going to be some talk about sexual assault. It's going to be so I just want to give you a heads up on those triggers. And we're looking forward to these guys say they are ready. They say they're ready to tell their story. Some of them they never told anybody. Some of them they told people close to them, but we want to give them the platform to really share their story. Why are we doing this? Well, we want to educate people. It doesn't seem like, some people don't really understand how common this issue is, how big this issue is, how does it happen, when does it happen, that it actually happens among family members. You know, most of the time happens among family members, and we don't realize that. So we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, at the end of the day, that is part of our mission as women open up, you know, to provide a safe space for men to have, you know, to talk about these issues. So, once again, this is going to be a very powerful season, and so we are looking forward to, you know, just the opportunity to really live into our mission this season.
Most definitely. So, do you have anything else you want to share?
Hey, once again, as always, we greatly appreciate the support, and just keep riding with us on this journey.
Most definitely. And in partnership with WYTV7 Christian Broadcasting Network, this is When Men Open Up, a show where we are redefining manhood through transparency. My name is Dominique.
I'm Dexter Dominique.
We out.